You can't record.
Yeah, I was saying I'm a little confused why we're even doing that
It's
then.
respectful to stand when you're speaking to a group of people.
Yes.
Okay, that's probably why. I mean, I went to Catholic school. That's my way of doing things out of respect.
Okay.
So I see nothing wrong with somebody standing up.
I didn't say they couldn't stand. We're gonna look over the procedures.
Okay.
So, can we look at recording township meetings?
Can you what?
Can we look into recording township meetings?
You're
You guys?
recording now.
No, for you guys to do it. I shouldn't have to do this.
When we do it, there's more requirements under
I know.
law as far as storage and all that stuff, you know what I mean?
So I'm doing you a favor.
We have to pay for equipment.
Okay, so,
No, honestly,
Sorry,
it's
Craig.
much easier for you to do it than us and cheaper.
Yeah.
I will say though, being on Zoom, it's very hard with the computer being there to hear anything on this side of the room when you're on Zoom.
And I go to the open records meetings weekly, and they said that if the people that are on the board should be able to hear everything that's going on in the room, so it's actually kind of a violation right there. So you probably want to fix that.
When COVID goes away, do you think this will go away? I mean, this was all because of COVID.
yeah, I would think so. Yeah. Okay, so snow emergency proclamation 2021-01.
Make a motion to accept snow emergency 2021. Second.
A motion and a second, all those in favor? Resolution 2021-18, ratifying snow emergency time extension.
Make that motion as well. Second.
A motion and a second, all those in favor? Aye. Resolution 2021-19, approve auditor.
What audit are we approving?
In the packet.
Order the township.
What?
2021,
Auditors to the
19.
audit township, let's see. Audit for the Carnarvon Township for Rensel, Kunz and Lesher. Is hereby appointed as the auditor for the term that expires the first day of January 2022.
Okay.
Audit the accounts of Carnarvon Township for the fiscal year 2020.
Okay. I sent a letter to you guys with a list of other auditors. Was John able to go review those and look for other auditors? Because we were
Yes.
not happy with
He was familiar with many of them and said quite a few were very, very costly. So
Okay.
he has experience, so we'll have to wait for him.
Yeah, I would like that to be put on hold until we can discuss it with him.
And this was advertised in the newspaper. It met the
Yes.
advertising requirement.
Okay.
Well, I think that I actually personally sent an email to you with just saying it was going to go to the board. I never got a response back from the board. I'm actually technically the auditor until another auditor is in place. And I think we need to look at another auditing firm. If that wasn't sufficient, I would expect a contact back and I could have done additional research.
That's up to the treasurer
And
board.
yeah, I also don't think that firm is adequate. If they haven't been looking at the carnival for all these years, they have lack of due diligence, and they should not be involved in our township. We need a different auditor.
Yeah, the problem was, they were told by somebody not to, but
And when you're an auditor, that's on them. That's on them. That's
Okay,
their
so
job.
I think that employee's gone and they picked up the ball, so I mean.
But I have no trust in the firm at this point, and I think we should have another firm in here.
What's the board, do you wanna make a motion to accept this for this year, or what do you wanna do?
2021-19,
For
you're
for
talking
the
about,
fiscal year 2020,
Yeah, resolution 20.
should that be 21?
The audit's already done for 2020.
yeah, this is the carnival audit, 2021-19.
No, they
There's
will
nothing to do with it.
audit.
What has to do? What are you talking about the carnival?
They will audit the 2020 records, 2020 records that
Oh,
year.
that's right, yeah, we're just
Yeah.
auditing the 2020 records. Okay.
So there's gonna be repercussions if we don't choose. I mean,
I'll make a motion to.
Okay, clarification, what are you guys voting on? Because I'm very confused right now. Because you have the number
Records need audited for 2020,
yes.
for 2020.
2020,
Okay. For what? That should have been done already.
everything, No, it's 2020, are we not in 2020?
One,
We
yes,
are.
yeah,
December
okay, all right, so it's a new
31st.
auditor, and I asked for a different auditor firm over a month ago to be looked at.
Yes,
So
I've
you're
seen
rejecting
that.
the,
I've seen that Jack had mentioned that he had called around and wasn't getting responses.
right, and I sent an email with a list of more ones and never got a response back. And as of, till you make this motion, I'm in charge of the auditors. Technically, legally,
So-
yeah.
The board always votes on the auditor, so
We
this
vote on
is
the
the
auditor.
2021 auditor for year ending 2020.
2020.
Yeah, and I'm put on record that I'm not comfortable with them. I think that law from the lack of due diligence, from them not auditing the carnival, that is on them. That I would like to be abreast on what's going on, because that is not how you audit. I've done auditing. They should have been well aware of that. Even if they were told not to, they should have been well aware. And Alan, you indicated there was a letter last meeting that actually, Eric said a letter was going to be sent. You kept on talking about the carnival last time. Do you have a letter from this firm?
Oh, the update?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's gonna
letter.
take another week. I was waiting for it to come up on the agenda. He's still working on the audit.
What audit? I'm a little confused. You were going off about the carnival last time, and Eric said you needed to wait until a letter was received in writing from this firm. Was a letter ever received?
Alan, that's regarding the
That was-
contracts.
Yeah, that was to stop, basically renewing contracts with tons of fun without the board approving the.
Is that in
the
writing?
contract first.
Did we get a letter in writing yet? Eric said not to continue the conversation till we get the letter in writing.
I haven't seen anything.
I haven't seen it.
No, wait, well, that's how the conversation was like. So basically, we're not even talking about that yet because as far as we know, there's not a problem because we don't have anything official. There was just a hearsay. We're talking on a rumor level
We
again.
had more to look at.
Yeah, there was an audit going on. Okay, so
Yeah.
I made a motion to approve the auditor for 2020.
And
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Berks County Tax Claim Bureau unpaid tax certifications for signature.
Yeah, for those that did not pay their taxes to the township, the tax collector needs your certification. It shows you the amount of taxes that have not been paid, and that individual will be penalized.
There's something that we need to look into. That's how the township gains its revenue, to pay the police, to hire solicitors, to maintain the roads. And if people don't pay their taxes, then how do we do all that? That's a problem. That's a major problem.
So you need a motion for that to be signed.
You can authorize that this is accurate. Once this is certified, it's too late to find error. You can't go backwards.
So then, who's gonna certify this?
Well, the tax collector filled it in, and now she's saying that the county is waiting for the board.
To sign?
Yeah, I mean, it can be the secretary, treasurer, manager. If you'd rather that I get past this to Jack tomorrow, he can sign it, if that's what you prefer.
Who do you prefer to sign it?
I would prefer Jack, because he's the one who's gonna deal with it anyway. That's my opinion.
You know, a lot of people are out of work. You know, some people are foregoing some of the interest and things, like, why couldn't we do something like that? I mean, for our people, like 3 months, paid by March. I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean, last year, I think we did put extensions.
I just
We did
think-
put extensions on it.
Yeah, I would like to see that for our community. I mean, thankfully I have a job, but I'm just thinking of
Well,
other,
these are all from last year, yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah, the ones we.
Last
put-
year,
The ones
Yes.
we put the extension on already.
oh,
And I'm pretty sure we approved no penalty as long as it was paid by the end of the year.
That's correct.
okay, all right.
Okay, so we're agreed that Either Jack the treasurer.
You should vote to authorize it, subject to Jack verifying the numbers are correct from his books, and then he can go ahead and sign it. So you should still do a motion.
Well, I will make a motion that Jack signs that. I'll follow his reading of it to make sure that everything is correct.
A second.
I have a motion, a second, all those in favor? Aye. The Winco Land Development Plan reaffirm.
I don't know if they're ready, were they ready for reaffirmation?
Everything's been addressed, they just needed the time extension to meet the procedures.
Okay.
Plan needs reaffirmed to extend recording time.
So you just need to make a motion to reaffirm plan approval.
I'll make that motion.
First and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Police Department draft policies presentation, body camera policy.
These are some of the policies that have been in the pipeline. Let's, I guess, start with body cam. Officially body worn cameras. The district attorney's office through the state association developed a model policy. We reviewed and added our 2 cents. I want to speak for Matt. You reviewed it. Is it okay from your standpoint?
The only issue that I have is we're not installing the server or getting training on it until June. That's how far out they are. So as far as the policy goes,
Your time review.
well, because I'm not trained on it, I don't know if we would have any issues meeting like the retention guidelines and stuff. I don't know what that server, how much that
So
can
we should
hold.
hold off until,
Yeah.
Well, it's up to you.
Well, the retention guidelines will be governed by law, so it's gotta be able to it's gotta be able
Okay.
to store that, the videos for that length of time, which would be 75 days to accommodate any requests for the videos. And then ideally, 2 years for any video that might be subject to a civil rights lawsuit, because 2 years is the statute of limitations for those kinds of claims.
just since we have time, did you review it, or would you like more time to review it?
So it sounds like he needs more time.
Yeah, that's what I
Okay,
think.
so-
Well, it's
How
not,
about we just
it's
put
not, so like, Eric and I have been emailing us back and forth to each other. It's just that if something should arise that, we have to tweak it maybe,
Right.
is what I'm saying, we're kinda,
So how about we?
I don't wanna
push
put the
this-
cart before the horse and say that I know how to work it and, that's all I was saying.
So we can do one of 2 things, we can vote on it, and if we have to
I think we have
adjust,
time just to
or
wait,
we,
and you guys read through it.
I'd rather wait 2, because we don't have any cameras anyway.
Do you have the camera?
Yeah. I can serve it too.
But you can't wear them until you're trained, correct?
The server has to be installed.
Right.
And they have to do like a 3-day training on it for all of us. But they're so backed up with everyone wanting these things that they can't get here in conjunction with links until June.
I say we push it just to.
Yeah, I would say.
Okay, resolution 2021-21, police mutual aid agreement.
This is the agreement that allows, gives jurisdiction to neighboring police officers to come into your jurisdiction to render assistance, and for your guys to go to a neighboring jurisdiction and render assistance. So agreement like this is required. And that's basically the whole gist of it, is just you're granting permission for other officers upon request to come in to your jurisdiction, vice versa. Since the prior draft was circulated, was it Birdsboro wanted to be added to it? So it's now a 4 municipal agreement with Birdsboro, Brecknock, Robinson, and Carnarvon. It should be close to being in final form. I don't know, Matt, if you've gotten any further feedback from any of these other municipalities?
It's been sent to them, and I guess it's waiting for their attorneys to look at it.
Will we have Union in
Wait
there?
till they-
Union? Well, shouldn't we have Union in there?
No,
No?
state. is
Oh.
there.
I
Okay.
just have one question on it. With the way that's drafted, if, like, the day Tranovich got that tractor trailer truck, we had departments from literally all over the county here, because I was there. Does that cover the municipalities who are not in that agreement to be here if requested?
That's an emergency situation. I
Well, they're
think.
going through assistance by the chief or the highest officer in charge at that point in time.
I'm just asking.
So that's
So that
another way, yeah.
if it happens, and Birdsboro's tied up, and Carnarvon, or Brecknock's tied up, and he needs to call Coomer, can they come? That's all I wanna know.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, this would not have an effect on that. So, you can do one of two things here, it might be premature. If, you can wait for feedback, or you can approve this, subject to everybody else agreeing to what it is in this form. Problem with that is if somebody has a small revision, you need to reapprove it.
I think we should just wait.
Yeah, we'll
See if
wait.
there's any changes. Okay, next, use of force policy.
This is a use of force policy that governs when and how officers can apply force under what circumstances. Like Chris alluded to at the beginning of our meeting, it's one of the areas where it's highly litigious. Anytime officers touch a citizen, they could be subjected to a claim, and even if they don't touch them, they could be subject to some lying about the manner in which they're touched. So this is consistent with federal law as the Supreme Court has laid it out with regard to how and when force can be applied. It requires something new of the officers, which is a use of force form to be completed. That really makes it easier for command staff to know when force is applied. If there is a lawsuit, it makes it easier to go through records because you then know each instance of force. And you don't have to dig through every incident report to see the narrative of when someone was forced to use force. It's a reasonable person standard regarding when and how to use force. And so you're consistent with the law, you're consistent with the doctrine of qualified immunity, which is very important to keep officers out of trouble. It is subject to a lot of press these days in an effort to eliminate that doctrine of qualified immunity, to make it easier to sue police officers. But as of right now, today, that doctrine is still sound, still applied by the Supreme Court. And so your policy is consistent with that and gives them that extra protection. It's been passed through Matt. I don't know if he's got feedback or comments, but we did this in conjunction with him.
I don't have a problem with it.
I'm okay with it. You're good with it, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion. Did you have a motion?
No, second.
Or Jeff, did you?
Yes.
Okay. Motion is second, all those in favor? Authorized weapons policy.
This policy is cross-referencing the use of force because your use of force policy only allows officers to use weapons either less than lethal or lethal that have been authorized by the board. And so this policy identifies what weaponry officers are entitled to put on their uniform and carry with them. And then it requires the obvious things, training on the weapon, on how to use it. And so it goes through that.
Excuse me. Do you guys have background in this to be able to make that determination? And do you have a
It's by law,
background?
not by judgment. It's
Just
not
by
us
law.
making a judgment.
Okay,
it's
I
by
thought he
law.
said that it's determined by the board, I'm sorry.
It's determined by the board. The actual weapons here come from the department itself, what weapons
Oh.
are used.
Right.
Okay.
So for example, they carry OC spray. If you don't, for some reason don't want them to carry OC spray,
Do they all know what it is?
we can discuss
Or
that.
spray?
You know what OC spray is? You, personally?
Spray that they use, I mean, I don't know
You don't
exactly
know?
what it does.
Okay, but it's up to you to decide whether they
And
can,
that's where we turn to the police officer and
he just said
so
it's
they
up to the
can have-
board.
it is, but we take their opinion and say, they're the ones out there risking their life.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's why I don't think the board, I think they should decide.
Officer in charge Mena, if he went through this, if he had any issues,
Mhm.
so we do turn to him.
Okay.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Sort of personal, but not personal. Are you like a head nurse? You said you were a nurse. Are you like?
No,
a
I
head
did not
nurse
say I
or-
was a nurse.
Okay.
It doesn't, I have background in labor relations for many, many years with an electric company, and I work at Effort Hospital.
Okay.
My background doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to get to where we need to be as a community.
So do you?
And I
say that-
don't think that this board is working towards us as being a community like we were when I
You've been
moved
at 4
here.
meetings. How can you say that?
Just by what I see. Just
In
by what
4
I
meetings,
see.
you can
No,
make
I've been
that
here, I've been to
judgment?
other meetings, before. I've been to other meetings that you haven't been at, okay?
I've been to all the meetings for the last
How many
10
years?
years.
Well, then you should have seen, I've been here.
13 years, actually.
Okay, I've been to other meetings, but I just never said anything. I never had anything to say. Well, I did, but now I'm gonna
So it
speak
wasn't a
up.
problem then, but it is now.
No, I had some issues then too.
And when exactly was that you were at those meetings that you had
About
problems
7
with?
years ago. It's been 7 years.
So you waited 7 years to bring the
No,
problems to our attention?
what I'm upset about is John Scalia, because I've known him so many years, and I'm very upset
You
about it.
have all known him for a lot of years.
Yeah, well, okay, that's fine, but I know John, I know what he stands for, and, okay, we're Italian, I just know what he stands for, and he just could not have done something. I'm gonna get to the bottom of that. That's the reason I'm coming to the meetings. But then, all these little side things going on, like going outside the community to get people to do things, I don't agree with that.
Like what?
Well, like the signage. You went to Eckert and Ephrata that I pass on my way to work every day. Now, I did check with John Bergandino, and he's critically ill right now. He has a big sign company, has for many years in Mountaineer Village. Why wouldn't we come here? Why are we going outside to do towing? Why are we going outside this community when we have people right here that can do the
If you
work?
remember in that same meeting, during that same conversation, we found out that a gentleman from the audience who owns a business in the township is supplying all the materials, or at least the most of the materials, to do the signs. And we're gonna repair the signs.
And
I
who's
think
go-
that's a positive
and who's
for
going-
uplifting our
But who's
community.
doing the work? Somebody here, we aren't going to Eckert Signs, because I didn't hear that. I heard we got a bid from Eckert Signs, and I said, how about if we check with John Bergandino, who's a neighbor of ours to Paul, and so I didn't hear that,
And we were more than willing, I think.
but nobody said
Keith
anything
Officer,
about
if
it.
you have him call,
Hmm?
he would take his phone call.
Who? Oh, yeah, but John's critically ill. I've already
Okay,
checked,
all right,
okay,
and
but
that's
I was
fine.
gonna bring
But
that up
I didn't
tonight.
know he existed. I mean, I can't.
He's
go
been
to
in
people-
business for 30 years.
But I didn't know
In
that.
Mountaineer Village, and that's what I mean. You don't know your community, you don't know, you've gotta reach out.
There's 4,000 people, how can we know?
4,000
each and every
people
one?
is not a lot of people. You took one person's complaint.
Okay.
What is your
You have more
question?
questions?
What did you, well, I don't know what your question was. What is your question?
Well, I guess.
Why can't I
ultimately,
come to a meeting? I've been paying taxes here 31 years.
You can come to
Okay,
any
what does it
meeting.
matter what I told you? John Scalia was the reason I started coming, and I'm going to come to as many as I can. Okay? So that's your answer.
She's a resident.
I'm
She's
a
here.
resident,
Yeah.
31 years.
That's all that matters.
You're welcome to come to every
Thank
meeting.
you. I appreciate that.
And we're allowed to ask any
That
questions
was
we
not-
want as residents.
That was not a
Do
very
you have any
polite
concerns
question.
about this?
It wasn't.
Everything that's in here is
I thought it was.
I didn't.
taser, EOC spray.
Yeah, the only time it would ever change is if we got a new tool or
Okay,
new
so
technology.
you're okay with the way this reads, and
Yes.
did everyone else have a chance to read through it? And yeah, I didn't see any issues with it.
There's one typo I'd point out in the version that you were sent, on the ammo, page 10.
I thought we changed.
Yeah, I changed it in my version, but these guys got it last week, so. On page 10, under Roman numeral 2B, officers of Carnarvon shall carry ammunition, currently 9mm federal HST, is what it should read, not P, HST, 147 grain cartridges.
Anyone? So we're ready to vote on this? Anybody want to make a motion?
Matt, you're good with it? I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Anyone motion is second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, towing policies.
Yes, you asked for a towing and abandoned vehicle policy. So we prepared one, I passed this through Matt. He had some good input, and there is, well, let's just go through it. I don't know if this can be shown up there or not. But anyhow, I'll do my best to summarize it. And so it establishes that you're gonna comply with the two laws that govern towers and salvers. One of them being the Towing and Towing Storage Facility Standards Act, the other one being the Pennsylvania Salvers Law. And so that's the policy defines various terms, sets forth the duties of tow truck operators and salvers concerning the maintenance of their equipment, rotation of township towing. Number 3 on page 2, no tow truck operator called for service to the scene of an accident shall tow or move a vehicle without first obtaining the consent of the owner or authorization of the police department. And they'll cooperate with the investigating officer to get all necessary information about the vehicle. Tow truck operators shall be responsible to clean up the scene, remove glass and rubbish. And that's to be coordinated with the officer in charge of the scene. And essentially that they will comply with those two statutes. It sets forth an application, so any tow truck operator or salver who wishes to be on the township's call list will apply with the township, give certain required information consistent with those two laws. And then within 30 days, the chief of police or designee will review the application and recommend to the board that the tower/salver be placed on the list. There's minimum requirements and qualifications, again, consistent with the two state laws. What's optional, I guess, here for you, for your consideration would be whether you want to impose a distance requirement on the business and equipment so that it's located within X number of miles from the township. On page 4, you see I just left that blank. It's an XXX for you to discuss and fill in. If you want that kind of a requirement, that's optional. And again, with the storage facility, which is on page 5, again, do you want that to be so many miles traveling distance of the department? You then require contact information for the operators. You require insurance for the operators. In terms of the towing rotation, the board was inclined to rotate. There's a question regarding how frequently you want rotation to occur, whether the rotation is call by call by call. Matt suggested it would be administratively easier to do rotation based on a weekly or bi-weekly rotation. So 1 week it would be one tower, next week it would be somebody different. I thought that was a good idea.
That's hold on, that right there, that's an unfair one there. You could have a snowy week, snowy month. The next tower, he gets a sunny month. The state police do it toe by toe.
Toe by toe.
So we left that option for further discussion.
And the state police give you a 20-minute window to get there. Maybe that's something you wanna use.
That might be a requirement too. And
Did you say 20 minute?
20 minutes.
I think that's something we should definitely put in there, because when you got an accident blocking the road, and about a key for the fire department, it's nice to get that cleared
Well, I
up.
run all the way down 10 up to 340 Whitehorse.
That would, decide who you're gonna give a call to.
so what this policy would do would be to set up a line of communication for those in the community that want to, I would say volunteer because it's a livelihood, but want to invite the township to use them, and it gives the officers guidance on how to use them, when to use them, so that your preferences are satisfied, and then it imposes protections for the public. Probably 75 or 80% of it mirrors those two statutes that really set in place how towers and salvers are going to be governed. And briefly, to distinguish between the two, salvers are those entities that will take abandoned vehicles. And then there's certain obligations to PennDOT for reporting purposes, to store those abandoned vehicles, go through a process, and ultimately, my understanding is the Salverson at the end of the day can sell those vehicles that are left unclaimed. Where a tow truck operator is more picking up a disabled vehicle or going to an accident scene, and where you know the identity and the citizen is generally right there, and they're taking those kinds of disabled vehicles from the scene.
Okay, so the first one, I mean, do you think the facility should be within 10 miles of the township?
Yeah, that's actually preferably in the township, maybe 5 miles. In case the police have to go out to the yard and get paperwork or whatever, or follow-up investigation.
Okay, will that limit us to how many?
Well, maybe how many's available, yes.
I mean, I don't wanna go way out, but I mean, we
But
still
we don't
wanna
need a
have a
list of 20
rotation.
guys either.
No, we don't.
But, what I would do is at least have that 20-minute rule, and if you're next in line and you say it's gonna be 2 hours, okay, can't use you, moving down to the next guy on the list.
So let's first get with the 10, I mean, I think 10 is sufficient for,
There's only, there's a small handful in that 10-mile range. It's not like there's
so
a
it's
ton
not
of
gonna be
people.
bombarded with a bunch of tow truck drivers within a 10-mile range.
No,
I don't
Okay.
think you should need to go 10. I would
Maybe
think
5 miles
5.
from this building right here.
I think that would probably be Park. Creative
Park's
Customs.
more than 5 miles,
Is he? What about Creative Customs?
more than
Yeah,
5.
so
Parks is like 8.5 miles up the highway.
So I think 10 miles is a fair radius from this building.
Mhm.
How far away am I? -2. Am I on the list?
if you wanna be on the list, yeah, of course you're on
We
the
didn't
list.
make it yet, we're still working on it.
Yeah, we're gonna work on it, but
So
there's
you
no
need
reason.
paperwork again?
If we have your paperwork on file, we don't
You
require a
you get it
new
every year?
application?
You get it every year.
I don't think so.
We have a new application now, it's in this.
I mean, you can fill out the new application, but, yeah, if you still wanna tow in here.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I just haven't had
Yeah.
a call since
Okay, well,
September.
we're trying to get this set up.
That's not
and
true,
We're gonna
yeah.
have a rotation,
What do you
okay?
mean it's not true?
That's not true, you were called, but you were unavailable.
When?
When the guy broke down in front of your shop.
The guy called me, I told him I was in Birdsboro, that he would have to call Carnarvon Township. Carnarvon Township did not